1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, these ancient skies, I've had these wandering eyes, but you took me by surprise when you let me inside of you. Inside of you, inside of you, there's got to be some part of me inside of you. Inside of you, I could cross this desert plain. Inside of you, I can hear you scream my name. Inside of you, while the stars unfurl, I've crossed me hard and I've crossed the world, and I need you here and I need to be inside of you.
Yo, what up? Episode 5, Babylon 5 podcast. Welcome back. I'm your host, Jermaine Event. Could follow the podcast at Babylon 5 Pod. You could follow my personal account. I noticed I never told you boys that. You can follow my personal account at My Name's Jermaine. I used to have an older Twitter account. I had to delete it when I was going to school for network to be a networking specialist. And they were talking about, yo, if you got anything crazy posted online on your Twitter, you may want to get rid of that or get rid of those posts. And I was like, this shit is so filthy that I just got to get rid of the whole account. So my current Twitter account, I got 5 followers. If y'all want to bump that up, it's at My Name's Jermaine. You could email your boy at babylon5podcast@gmail.com, and you can listen to this podcast on a number of places, but my home base where I upload is babylon5.podbean.com. You could listen to us on Stitcher, Spotify, podcasts, all over the place. We live. You know what I'm saying? I want to say what up to y'all. If y'all been rocking with me the whole 4 times, 5 times, here we go. 5 times, 5 times, 5 times, 5 times, 5 times. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Hopefully you got that reference. Probably not. Yeah, we're going to get into it. What are we talking about today? I'm going to tell y'all niggas about this little situation at work. It's not a situation. It's something I thought was hilarious. It's just something I try to look out for, or I don't try to look out for it, but it's just things I pick up on. Like I was saying with the story, if you guys were listening to the Alaska story, I was saying one of my favorite things to watch on YouTube are the people who've been to prison and they tell their stories, tell the craziest things they've seen there and all kinds of shit like that. I love watching shit like that. And through that, certain times when I meet people, I pick up on certain behaviors, certain mannerisms, and I'm like, yo, they probably did some time, probably a significant amount of time, just because of how they're behaving and how they're interacting with people. I make those weird assumptions based off of random YouTube videos. I know it's not appropriate, but everybody makes random assumptions about everybody. And at least I got mine based on random shit. But anywho, so at this current job that I'm at, there was this guy, I'm not going to say his name, but right away when we had our orientation at the same time, about 3 months ago. And we don't work together, we work at the same place, but they did the orientation together. So right when I met him, it was summertime, and he was wearing this long black leather jacket, kind of I don't know, it seemed like something I used to see as a little kid. So I was right away, his style is super outdated. I don't know. Regardless of that, got to know him throughout the time I've worked with him. A few weeks back, he told me it was his birthday. And he said he didn't want to take off work because he was just happy to be there. You know, he told me at that moment that it was his first birthday being free, his first birthday free after spending 22 years in prison. This is a few weeks ago. And I'm just I was right the whole time. There's other things, there's other tells. It wasn't just this nigga's wearing this. Where's your style, son? No, it was just just certain things. How he always mentions how that I'm bigger than him. You know, I'm not a huge motherfucker. I'm 5'8", 5'9", 200 Like I hover around I fluctuate between like 185, 200, depending on how I'm feeling about my diet, how I'm feeling about myself. Yeah. So he always comments that he's like, "Hey, big man, I don't want no trouble." He'll put his hands up like that if I like, just like random things like that. And I picked up on it before he told me he did 22 years. I didn't ask him what he did, but 22 years is some significant time. He's about 5'6", pretty slim dude. Like, he's a small guy. So, but I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that he always would mention that I'm bigger than him. Like, oh, I don't want any problems, big man. Whatever. The other day, there was some like packages or whatever that somebody wrongly put in another part of the place that we work, and I was gonna go grab them. He was there talking to me about some shit, and he was like, "Oh, I'll help you." I'm like, "Yeah, why not? Come with me." We load them up on this cart. I load like half on my cart, half on his. We go to the service elevator. I get on the service elevator. There's already another guy on the service elevator. This guy, he's pulling his cart but backing into the elevator. There's about now 2 other ladies that hop on the elevator, and he's backing up into the elevator. He backs into the guy that's already on the elevator, right? He didn't notice the guy was there. He turned, he was like, "Oh, man, I didn't even see you there. Man, you could have had me up in these boxes, and I would have been screaming, 'Help, help, get him off me,' right? I'm the only person to my knowledge that is aware that this man just spent the last 22 years in prison, and like nobody even like paid that comment any mind. I'm sitting there like, what the fuck did this nigga just say? What did he just say? I would have been like, help, help, get him off me. I'm like, oh shit. I don't know what you've been through, my nigga, but we're at work, young man. Nobody picked up other than me just how crazy that joke was. That's too real, my guy. You brought too much real for me. I wasn't I wasn't ready for that one. But I'm glad it happened so we could talk about it right here on the Babylon 5 podcast. Babble on 5. Anywho, so the other day I was watching what I'd like to describe as one of the worst TV shows I've ever seen. The First 48. It's one of the worst shows I've ever seen, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry if I sound a little stuffy here. Usually, like, randomly toward the weekend, whenever my days off are here, I have, like, allergies to, like, pollen or whatever it is, whatever it could be. And it usually stays here until, like, my second day back at work. So this is just how my life is. I felt a little better before, but, like, now it's hitting me. So whatever. Got the sniffles and kind of stuffy. But, so I was watching The First 48, the worst show on television. It's like, Bird Up's got nothing on The First 48, all right? First 48's terrible. I'm watching it. This guy, you know, it's like they're investigating homicides. And if you don't know the show, it's like after the first 48 hours, like the percentage of solving that case cuts down to like 50% apparently. So they got a 2-day window to get as much information or solve the case as possible. And whatever. And I'm watching this one. They bring this guy in as a suspect for the murder. He names this other guy. He says like, yo, no, I drove with this guy and like I stayed in the car and then he went, I heard these gunshots. He ran back in the car and that was it. And he was like, yo, and he was saying his friend ran back in the car and he was like, and I noticed that like he only had one shoe on. Right? The cops did find his shoe. So it's like, oh shit, this guy most likely did it. He's snitching on his friend, whatever. That didn't even really get me mad. It was just like they bring in his friend and his friend is talking about, yo, I didn't even like get out of the car. Like that guy is lying. He's a murderer. Like, I didn't get out of the car. For whatever reason, the police put these two people in the room together. They put them in a room together and just let them go at it. I mean, it's pretty smart for them. But if you're a suspect, why the fuck are you talking in that room? Shut your mouth up. Stop talking. But they put the two friends in a room, and the second guy they brought in, he's like, yo, do you remember when you told me you wanted to do this? And I told you that I'm on probation and I couldn't get out of the car. Do you remember that? That I did not get out of the car because I could not have any contact. And he's like, fam, admit that you are a murderer. And the other guy is like, I'm a murderer. I'm a murderer. Like, he just kept saying that, and the cops are like, yo, this guy's saying he's a murderer, and he's never, like, once denied it. He just keeps repeating that. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Right? So they separate him again. The first guy, they're like, yo, this is the one chance to tell us the truth. And he's like, all right, we went over there. I wanted to, like, they were going to rob somebody or steal a car or something. But he admits that he brought the gun, pulled it on the person that they were going to rob was not going. Put him in a headlock, like, wasn't afraid of the gun. And he was like, and I guess while he had me in the headlock, I accidentally shot the guy, right? He says he accidentally shot the guy. So one, you brought your boy in here who's on probation. When you did this, you ain't have to mention his name. You ain't have to bring him down here. But this is what really pissed me off. This dude brings up another name that they didn't even know was there and was like, oh yeah, and this guy was there on lookout. That dude got, like, I think 10 years. They didn't even know he had anything to do with it. And you threw him in there. Both of those dudes got 25. The first two dudes, they got 25. And the other guy who was the lookout that the police had no idea was there, that you just threw in there, my nigga, got your boy 10 years. Police wasn't even looking at him. Worst show on TV. I root against the cops when I watch. I just hate on all their fucking methods. I hate on everything they do in that show. I hate it. And I just want people to shut up and lawyer up the second they get in there. That's what I want the whole show to be. I don't like the way... So if a black person dies on that show, this is another thing. I hate watch it. I hate watch, like, The Walking Dead, and I hate watch The First 48. Like, if a black person dies, they'll be like, he leaves behind two kids, and that's just like it. Like, he leaves behind a 3-year-old son. But if a white person dies on that show, they'll, like, have all these childhood pictures, playing all this sad music. Loved ones like, oh, she was an angel. Blah 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 blah. Like, they cover the fucking deaths depending on race completely different on that show, and I can't be the only one that peeped that out. That shit really sits weird with me. I don't like it. But speaking of The First 48, fuck Tekashi 6ix9ine. He's one of the weakest niggas I've ever heard. I didn't really care too much about the situation. I was interested in seeing how it played out. Like, is he going to prison or is he going to be free? At that point, I don't really care, like, other than that. But this nigga just testified, right? Tekashi 6ix9ine just testified. And I thought he was going to testify against the people who kidnapped him or whatever, even though he put a hit on, like, Chief Keef or his cousin or something like that. He was going to testify against these people and try to go home. But during the middle of this, he throws in Jim Jones is involved in this. Nigga, they weren't even, I mean, maybe they were looking for Jim Jones, but we didn't know that. You didn't have to mention Jim Jones in this. I don't think you had to mention Jim Jones ever one time. He goes, Cardi B's a blood. She's in Treyway. We knew she was a blood, but he's like, oh, she's affiliated with this particular gang that's going through a racketeering case. He's trying to get everybody arrested. Why? Why are you mentioning these names? Why are you trying to get everybody arrested? Police wasn't even looking at them, my nigga. Wasn't even looking at them. I can't even. This is my thing. I saw somebody post, and it said that Tekashi 6ix9ine was planning to take 70 years. He's facing 70 years, and he was ready to take it. But then, like, the police and his lawyers confirmed that this shit was real. That they showed him some paperwork that showed that the people, Shotty and all the people he was hanging out with, like, are actually the people who set up the kidnapping that happened to him. They set him up to get robbed, and they were planning to murder him. They were planning to murder him, apparently. So from that point on, he was like, all right, I'm a snitch. He started working with the government once he saw that those people were planning to kill him. First off, you're not a gangster. You know what I'm saying? Understand that. You're not a gangster. And if you're saying like, oh, no, man, he was just down with that for them to help him. And it's like, yeah, help your image, but you're not a gangster. So maybe you shouldn't have gone that route, you know? You shouldn't have gone that route. And now that there's consequences, you gotta take those consequences, my nigga. You can't just get down with this crew with this fucking gang over here, and then just be like, oh no, I thought we was all homies, but now that we not cool anymore, I'm not with it anymore. That's not how it works. You gotta stand by that decision. You better take that 70 and shut your fucking mouth. Is how I feel. That's how I feel about it. I feel like, it's just people, we just raised differently, you know? He was never about what he was talking about. He was a horrorcore rapper, you know? My wife didn't even know what that was. I had to show her how terrible things can get in life. You know? Anywho, I'm just trying to make sure. Yeah, I'm still recording that. Laptop went to sleep. Anywho, you gotta stand by them decisions. I think it's just like a matter of how you're raised. What I heard, I'm not sure what it was. It was like a dash cam video or some shit. Apparently, where one of the Bloods like walked up on 6ix9ine back when he was free. And the guy was like, yo, man, I thought you were supposed to call me. And he's like, oh, no. Like, I was trying to find your number. Like, I don't know. He was never that, is my point. He was never about that. And when he was pressed by real issues, we saw, like, early on how he wasn't about that. You know? He didn't come from that. Like, I remember years ago when I was coming home from work. It might have been like 12 years ago. I was coming home from work. Was on a city bus. Maybe like 11 o'clock at night. And we was on like Sherman. Maybe a block, maybe a stop after that or something like that. Maybe like 41st Street. I lived on 32nd and North. We was on Sherman and North or something around there. And these two dudes get on. I sit all the way in the back because I don't like niggas plotting on me. I want to see everything that's going on. So if I'm on the bus, I'm sitting all the way in the back if I can. So I'm all the way in the back. These two guys get on. Niggas got like blue flags hanging out their pockets and shit. So like, I don't know if these niggas is for real about that shit. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the situation is, but I'm not trying to interact with these niggas over here. I don't want no smoke. So we get to like 35th. I'm just like listening to my headphones, looking out the window, you know what I'm saying? But I can feel both of these two people staring at me. I can feel it. You know what I'm saying? So I look over at them, and I never forgot, like, the look on his face. I never seen it. Like, it was like the most sadistic smile I've ever seen in my life. Like some horror movie type shit on this dude's face. He was like my age or younger. I was probably like 17 at the time. And He just pulls out a pistol. He pulls out a pistol with this sadistic smile, staring at me, and I just gave him a head nod. Turned and went back, looked out the window, cause I'm like, nigga, I'm 2 stops away from home. Nigga, I'm 2 stops away from home. Please don't come at me with this nonsense. And if you are, like, go about it. It ain't shit I could do. I'm sitting here. You got a pistol, my nigga. It's 2 of y'all, and you got a pistol. Do what you got to do. That's how I felt about the situation. Luckily for me, they just decided to. They moved to the front of the bus. There was like 2. I was the only person sitting on the back of the bus at the time, and there was 2 other people sitting in the front of the front area of the bus. And when those 2 guys got on, I gave them a head nod, looked out the window, and like a few seconds later, they walked to the front of the bus and sat behind somebody who was on the front of the bus. And I got off like pretty much like right as they were like went and sat behind that other person. It was like perfect timing, I guess. It's weird though, cause like a year before that, like 1 year before that, my brother Travis, so I used to date this girl when I went to King. It was in high school. I'd go to her house after school or even on the weekends, and I wouldn't come home till like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd take the bus or whatever, and I'd be coming home. I remember one day, like I was home. I came home early. Like I don't know what it was. Maybe I just wasn't feeling old girl no more. But I remember I came home early that day, and I wake up to somebody just banging on my door. I hear my brother Travis, and he's like, "Jay, you in there? You in there?" And I'm like, all groggy. I wake up like, yeah, what up? And he's like, open the door. And I was so like sleepy. Like this is when we lived on 32nd and North, and it had the lock where like you could turn it, but if you keep turning it, it'll just like lock, unlock, and you just keep turning it. And so I was so sleepy that I just kept turning. I'm like, oh, I can't open the door. And he's like, no, it don't matter. I just wanted to know that you're here. And I'm like, all right. And he's like, I gotta go downstairs. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I just go to lay back down, but I see like ambulance lights. I see all these like flashing lights outside. So I look outside like, oh shit, what's going down? And they all rush into my house. You know? They rush into my house. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yo, I go to the door and I'm like, oh, I see what I did. And I open it up. And I go downstairs. I'm like halfway down the stairs. And I see this dude on my couch. And I swear I've never seen him before. He's wearing this white shirt. It's like half covered in blood. And I'm like, who the fuck is this on my couch? Turns out, like I get a little bit closer, it's my brother Travis. I didn't even recognize him. He was walking home. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. He was walking home. He took the bus. He was taking the bus at the time. He's coming home from his girlfriend's house. Like, got off right there, 32nd and North. We were like, he was a few feet away from our door. So it was 2 dudes walking down the block, like the opposite direction. And he said as they started to pass, like, somebody just started swinging. And they were just jumping them right there. Just pistol whipping them, beating them right in the street. And when I saw his face was all, like, super swollen from being pistol whipped, I didn't know I didn't know who my brother was sitting on my couch. I didn't recognize him. And this was a year before these 2 dudes just pulled out a gun, just for whatever reason with this sadistic smile, you know what I'm saying? So like, in my mind, I knew how real the shit was already. You're gonna do what you're gonna do regardless. My brother didn't entice these people. You know what I'm saying? My brother didn't. He's not that kind of person. He's walking home. My brother don't bother nobody. That's just how it was, you know? And that's how, I don't know. I'm not crying, I got the sniffles. I tried to tell y'all niggas. Or I don't know, maybe I am crying, I don't know. I just know that happened. My brother Terrence claimed he got pistol whipped. I'm not sure if it happened or not. And I don't know if I don't know. It was just a weird situation. I mean, I didn't see any bruises. I didn't recognize Travis, was how I felt. Unless this nigga just got the toughest skin. But he claimed the situation happened, which I wouldn't doubt that something happened. Well, no, I think what he said happened was, like right there on 35th, my brother Terrence said, these three dudes ran up on him, like right by where that furniture store is now. And one pulled out a pistol, held it on him, and the other ones just took turns just like firing off on him. Like everybody just watched. This is where I came from for the better part of my life, you know? So when that dude pulled that gun out on me, like, I already knew how real this shit could get. Either you gonna do it or you not. But I'm not finna live my life anyway where you're about to run me. That's not about to happen. But you're either gonna do what you're gonna do or you're not. So that's how that's gonna go. You know what I'm saying? I came from the streets. Came from the streets, my nigga. Before 32nd and North, we lived, for most of my childhood, I lived in Hillside stand up. Yeah, I didn't know a lot of things, you know. I think I learned to process things differently. I didn't know, I don't think I knew how real death was early on. How odd that is, but like people were dying all the time when I was a little kid at Hillside. A lot of gang activity, you know. People were dying all the time. So I don't know. Maybe I process things like that differently. I don't know. You know, when I was living in Hillside, I remember in the summer nights. From where I lived, it was perfect vantage point. They had these like little square concrete structures where they put garbage cans. Everybody put their trash, and in the summer months, and it was like a hill from where the apartments was down to a playground on one side. You had the Boys and Girls Club and like this whole little field area, but it would be a hill down there to the trash cans, and in the summer it'd be dog fights, you know. And I could see that perfectly from my bedroom. We would stay up and watch the dog fights. My mom would want us to go to bed, and we would sleep on the floor those nights. I didn't know why at the time, but we definitely slept on the floor when there was dog fights because we didn't know what was going to happen. Well, she didn't know. I didn't know that was even something to worry about. Have you ever slept in a bathtub? Nah? Because sometimes it seems like the safest option. I mean, it wasn't all bad. Them hills, bruh, for sledding, them hills was great for sledding. Hell yeah. So, they had the Spider Park. When I was a kid, I didn't know the neighborhood was bad, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. People was dying all the time. And I remember we moved out of Hillside. And as I got older, I was like, I want to move back to Hillside. And people be like, you want to live in Hillside? Like, that's crazy. People get shot every day. And I started to look at it, I'm like, oh man, I didn't even understand what was really happening around me. I was just a kid. I didn't know that it was bad. It's pretty crazy. Just a randomly the other day, yesterday I came across this dude, Dr. Carl Hart. Have you guys ever heard of Dr. Carl Hart? Nah? Yeah? Oh, all right. So Dr. Carl Hart, he's a psychology professor. I'm not sure which university. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But his main thing, the thing that drew me in on him is his take on like the drug policies and his research and claims that the crack epidemic is a myth. It's all a myth. Everything about it's a myth. He points out that if you look at crack cocaine, you look at powder cocaine, like the laws are way harsher on crack cocaine than powder, but to a user, the effects of the drug, how it reacts to you, like there's no difference in the drugs. It's the exact same drug, no matter how you take it. And he says like he looked into how like even before there was this crack epidemic, before that it was base heads. You know what I'm saying? The crazy thing that people were afraid of was base heads, people who were freebasing. It's like, oh, you can do your drugs this way, but once you start freebasing, you're gone. And even before that, there was another scare. I think maybe the marijuana scare. And he's like, and usually he noticed that there was a pattern of like racial issues that would factor into these big epidemics and how they were portrayed in the media. And it was the same story that he said will repeat. And it was the exact same thing with the crack epidemic. So what he looked at was how it was reported and how like once crack cocaine hit the streets, it destroyed black communities and just destroyed everybody. You know what I'm saying? And it justified harsher laws on it because everybody knew this as the boogeyman. And at that point, it took it out of parents' hands where they don't have to educate their kids on what this thing is. It's just know that thing is bad. Stay away from that thing. All right. But what he looked at was in 1982, the unemployment rate for white people in America was 11% and 22% for black people in America. And that's the highest unemployment rate ever in America. And he said crack cocaine didn't hit the streets. The crack epidemic didn't start until like 1984, 1985. And he said what the real issue was in those days was actually that unemployment rate, that high unemployment rate that's been the highest since that time. How did they solve that problem? By focusing on this drug problem. All of a sudden, there's a war on drugs. We need more cops. All these people are using and selling. This is a deadly drug. Crack cocaine. We got to put people out in the streets. They hire hella police. Now they have to hire more corrections officers. They got to open up more prisons. They got to hire all these more people because all these crack users and offenders and dealers or whatever, because this is such a crazy, terrible drug that mainly black people are using, not according to statistics, not according to stats, but according to how it's being reported. They did a research study, and they showed that with, also I want to say that he said that his claim that 85 to 90% of drug users are not addicted, and it's not a real thing that people have to worry about. So they did a research study, and it showed that if they offered a crack user crack or $5 at a 50% rate, the crack user would take the $5 or the crack, 50% rate. They also did it with meth users, and it was still about a 50% rate, $5 on the meth. So they bumped it up to $20 in this experiment, and only like, I think, yeah, so like pretty much only like 1% of the time would people, depending on with either drug, choose the drug over $20. All right? So that proves to them that like money or it found that if like a willing sexual partner or money or financial gain always trumps getting high, and that a human being would in no way ever naturally get high, like just keep doing that drug until they're dead. Like they would eventually wean themselves off of it or get off at some point. They wouldn't naturally just keep doing that until they're dead. I think these findings are crazy. Not crazy in a negative way, crazy in like it blows my mind. Because I think about like how it was reported to me as a kid. I remember like crack. I watched these videos about like, crack in the 80s and blah, blah, blah. And it's this crazy narrative. Everybody bought into it. Everybody bought into it. And even hear me saying these things, it might sound like I'm insane, but like, it really makes me look at things from a different perspective. You know, maybe laws, because his idea is that they should legalize everything, or at least decriminalize it, because then if you take that stigma and marginalization off of these people addicts, yeah, you'll see a change in like the way the prison systems are run. Because they were also Dr. Carl Hart found that pretty much 9 out of 10 people, when arrested, were neither high or drunk while committing the crimes in which they got arrested for. So that didn't factor in to the stats of like the drugs make people violent and go crazy. Because all these crimes, because majority of crimes are committed while people are completely sober. Yeah. And I don't know. It's pretty insane. I'd like to talk to my pops about that. Like, me and my pops don't have, like, we're not close or anything. I haven't really spoken to him since, I think I saw him once after my grandma's funeral. But he does his thing. He's out here in the world. So, but I don't really see him too much. But I'd like to get his take on that. I know he was saying like, man, like one of the last times I was talking to him, he was telling me like, man, I was on that stuff, man, like hard, like it really like fucked him over for a long time. And I just, I just like to have insight on that whole experience, of that life, man. It's not even like, why weren't you there? It's just like, man, it's interesting. It makes me look at this from a different perspective, because maybe he was addicted. Maybe he's in that 15 to 10% that is addicted. I think he's kicked it now, though. I'm pretty sure he's kicked it. So, like, he naturally falls in line with this. Someone wouldn't do that until they're dead. You wouldn't naturally do that. I'd love to, like, hear the stories of how it started, how it got out of control, I'm sure it started out of nothing. I'm sure it started with a little bit of weed. My mom, when I was a kid, she never wanted me to hang out with white people, because she would tell me like, once my dad started hanging out with white people, that's when he started doing hard drugs and like went crazy. So, and it's like, was it really the drugs? Yeah, I'm sure it was the drugs. I'm sure that like even when I used to drink, like, that alcohol, like, when you're on it, it gives you such like a false sense of reality, false sense of confidence, I feel like. that I don't know. I could imagine. I can only imagine what it would have been like for him. I don't know. I don't necessarily know what the hard stuff entails. I don't ask those kind of questions. I guess at the time. Right now I'm asking them kind of questions. If y'all see Alvin Henderson, let that nigga know. Yeah, let's chat. Let's chat. All right? Conti just hit me up. Coffee with Conti. I'll give you my review. I didn't even I think I mentioned Conti like for 2 seconds in that episode. So that's what you're gonna hear in that episode is 2 seconds of just hey, went and got coffee. Marijuana is not a drug. Yeah, she didn't want me to hang out with these white people. It's crazy because I remember thinking she was wrong. You know, I remember thinking she was wrong because I had a lot of white friends. She sent us to school, like in Bayview, like far south side area, so that we could. Well, the school we went to was called Burdick. It had like we did work with like MacBooks and all kinds of shit early on. Like at a young age, like 8th grade was like MacBooks on every desk. And we made like movies in English class and things like that. I made a movie called 7 Mile about a white rapper who wanted to make it. Yeah, it was just a ripoff of 8 Mile. Anywho. But those are the kinds of things that we did back then. And so most of my friends were white. And I remember all we ever did was smoke weed. I mean, but even when I was younger, like high school, I didn't start smoking weed till I was like 18. Maybe like 17, 18, like maybe like 17 when I first tried weed. But before that, I was like only bad people do that. I was a little innocent Jermaine at the time. You know, I remember I'd always be like, come on, guys. Like, why are you guys trying to smoke? Like, we could just go hang out with people. We don't have to do those things. And they'd be like, man, come on, man. Get out of here. They'd be trying to get bottles, trying to get beer. I'd be like, dog, like, come on. Like, why are you guys wasting time with this? Let's just go hang out with people. That was me. And now I'm kind of that way again. Or let's not go hang out with people. Let's just go sit at home. Or I don't know about just sit at home. I'd rather cook at home. I made some fire-ass coconut curry chicken meatballs the other day with some cauliflower rice. That shit was hidden. What was I talking about? I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so we was hanging with these niggas. And I'd be the nigga to like, nah, we don't need to do that. And they'd be like, get out of here. And as we got older, everybody was just, I was like, everybody's just smoking weed. I was so naive. I remember I go to Madison and I go for like Mifflin and like the Halloween parties or whatever. And I assumed that everybody was just either drinking or smoking, nothing else. That's how naive I was, like, until I was like 22, to be honest. Like, that's how naive I was. So naive that, like, my old homie back in the day, I know he started, like, he used to sell weed back in the day. And this is one of the reasons I was like, yo, I gotta move around from this dude, because he's too hot. He just driving around the city slanging weed. I'm here. I'm in the car with niggas. Like, bro. Like, when this nigga, I'm not in the car. I'm like, that's why I was like, yo, I can't kick it with these niggas. I stopped hanging on that side of town. Because it's like, yo, if you get caught up on some shit, I'm getting caught up on some shit. Even though I am not slanging a thing out of this motherfucker. I don't live my life that way. I'm African American and I will be arrested. So I was like, I can't hang around these people. But at the same time, I was like, all that is like marijuana. So she was kind of wrong because like we never messed with that crazy stuff. But come to find out, the whole time homeboy was slanging hella coke, but never mentioned it to me because he knew there would be no way I would have been having that. I would have been like, fuck all y'all niggas. Y'all niggas fucking with cocaine? Cocaine, nigga? I would have been out, bruh. Would have been out. And now niggas can't leave it alone, apparently. Hope, maybe, one day, I was watching this comedian, he was saying how, like, being 29, I'm 29 now, so is homeboy, and, and they were saying, I think he's 29, I don't know, actually, he might not actually be 29, but anywho, they're saying 29 is a weird age because once you turn 30, all the fun things you like to do that used to make you cool now become addictions. So niggas is pretty close to addictions. Is where I'm going with that. Nah, niggas is full blown addiction as from my perspective. But I'm saying we're almost at that age where everybody's gonna look at it that way. Act accordingly. What are we talking about right now? Should we talk about UFC? Little UFC? If we're gonna talk about some UFC, I was excited for like as the fight got closer, like throughout the week, I'm like, fuck yeah, Yair Rodriguez is about to fight Jeremy Stephens. This is about to be an insane fight, like super flashy. I thought we were about to see something crazy, and in 15 seconds in the first round, Yair Rodriguez swipes his hand, open hand, like swipes his hand across Jeremy Stevenson's face, and apparently scratched his eye. And the fight was stopped, no contest. Fans in the arena start throwing things, like they're pelting Jeremy Stephens with beer as he's being escorted out, throwing things into the octagon. There's people hiding under, like all the commentators are hiding under tables because they're getting hit with beers. Like, I mean, I kind of understand, like, to be upset. You pay like hundreds of dollars probably to sit there, and then there's no main event. There's no fight. You kind of got ripped off because you probably don't care about. I mean, there was Alexa Grasso from Mexico in the co-main event. She lost a fight that I thought she won 2 of those rounds. I thought she won the first and the last round. And I thought Carla Esparza held her down on the second round and won that round just by like controlling her on the ground. So when Grasso lost by decision, the whole place was going crazy with boos. So then you follow that up with no fight, and that place went crazy. They started throwing drinks, I thought it was gonna be a riot, but it kind of like Yair got up on the cage and was like, showing it, like raising his hands, like, yo, like I win, but no, you don't win. But he said he was trying to just like show the people that it's okay, like, and they all calmed down eventually. But I thought it was gonna get out of control. I mean, that's still pretty whack for them to throw their beers at Jeremy Stephens, a guy who just got poked in the eyes. His eyes are spazzing, and he can't open his eyes, and they're throwing beers at him as he's being helped to the doctors. So I thought that was pretty gross of that arena. But things happen. You're throwing beers. You're probably pretty tipsy at that point, and you just missed out on a main event. You know, so I guess I kind of understand that, but I wish that didn't happen. As I said, Alexa Grasso, pretty tough fighter. Shore up that wrestling. Shore up the wrestling. This is my thing. They said to prepare for Carla Esparza's wrestling, they brought in a black belt in jiu-jitsu to help her with like some anti-wrestling. Why not bring in a wrestler? Why not bring in a wrestler? It's 2 different things. It's cool to be able to sweep your opponent. It's cool to be able to do all that shit. Yeah. It's dope to be able to do that and to be able to handle yourself from the back. Like if you're on the ground on your back, it's cool to be able to know what to do in that situation. But she had no scrambling. Why didn't they bring in a wrestler if your problem here is like you're trying to defend the You gotta bring in. Sorry, I had to take a break there. Had to blow my nose or whatever. You're talking about two different things here. You got to bring in the right people for that. Yes, you should bring in a black belt. You should shore up your ground game, but shore up your wrestling. Shore up your wrestling. Bring in a wrestler. Bring in Ben Askren. Bring in Jordan Burroughs. Bring in whoever you can. Go work with them, but you got to bring in a wrestler for that. Next week is UFC coming from UFC Fight Night 160 coming from Denmark. I think the card starts at like 11 a.m. I kind of enjoy that. I'd rather get it out of the way and then get on with my fucking life. Main event is Jack the Joker Hermanson versus Jared Cannonier. This fight is going to be violent. I said that to my wife and she was like, they're all violent. No. This is going to be violent. This is going to be violent. All right? Super violent. Last time Jared Cannonier fought, he fought Anderson Silva, just was giving him these nasty leg kicks. And I think maybe the second or third leg kick was so nasty, it crumbled Anderson Silva, he could no longer stand up in the first round. Nasty. He's so powerful. Everything he throws is with reckless intent. Jared Cannonier. That's Jared Cannonier. Violent. Black guy. Rooting for you. He's facing Jack Hermanson. Jack Hermanson, he last fought Jacare Souza. Destroyed Jacare Souza. I knew he was going to win that fight. I think he's a better fighter. I saw him live here in Milwaukee. He fought Gerald Meerschaert, who trains out of Roufusport, and just mauled this guy. Fucking animal. I saw Gerald Meerschaert at Red Rooster maybe a couple weeks after that fight. And I was like, if I'm going to say something to this guy, I'm going to be like, dude, that man was a fucking animal. But I'm like, I don't know how he's going to take that. Might just slap the shit out of me. In the middle of Red Rooster or whatever the fucking, what was the place? The breakfast spot we were at. Shout out to them for the chilaquiles. Shout out to my wife. She made some bomb-ass chilaquiles last night. It's one of my favorite foods, actually. It's pretty delicious. So, next week, Jack Hermanson versus Jared Cannonier. This fight is going to be violent, ladies and gentlemen. Violent. You want violence? You want to see something brutal? This is the fight to watch. Next week, Jack Hermanson versus Jared Cannonier. Also on that card, this guy Khalil Roundtree. Last time he fought, right, he came out with a normal style, and it was like a 50-50 fight with his opponent. But then, I think it was against Eric, ya boy, Anders, and all of a sudden he switched to this kind of hopping Thai style, and started just lighting him up with these leg kicks, super fast strikes, and Eric Anders had no answer for that. Khalil Roundtree moved to Thailand to train there because he just fell in love with how they do things there. And he moved to Thailand. And I'm interested in seeing how he comes out in this fight, how he looks, any adjustments. I want to see that Thai style again. That was really cool. I'm really interested in that. Check out Khalil Roundtree. And also Macy Chiasson. She won the latest season of The Ultimate Fighter. For the whole time I thought Leah Ledson from Milwaukee, I thought she won The Ultimate Fighter, but I guess she lost to Macy Chiasson in the final. Macy's pretty nice. I think she fought someone who missed weight. I don't know. She dominated her opponent last fight. I'm interested to see her in this. I don't know the girl she's fighting. I've never heard of her. So, but who knows? Who knows? What are we talking about? Should we talk about fantasy football? Oh, it's later. I'm recording this episode a little bit later in the day. And so I guess my fantasy team is performing right now. I'm 2-0, by the way, in case you were wondering. If you're into that. Who did I go with this week? Before we talk about that, Antonio Brown. I don't think I touched on it last week because I was like, yo, this story is forever evolving. And I woke up this morning and or maybe it was yesterday around like 1 o'clock, Patriots release Antonio Brown. Then I wake up and he announces that he's not going to play in the NFL anymore. It's pretty wild. But as a result of him not playing, him not being on the team anymore, Julian Edelman's stock boosted. So thank you. Thank you, Antonio Brown, for living a shady lifestyle and bringing value back to my draft pick. That's anywho. So this week we're going with Tom Brady, David Johnson, Joe Mixon, Julian Edelman, who's this guy? Demarcus Robinson from Kansas City. We're going with Jared Cook, Larry Fitzgerald, and Buffalo defense against Cincinnati, and we got Josh Elliott, the kicker, versus Detroit. Now, I want to point out that I said I was going to hold out and not pick up any players, but I did. Picked up a player. I felt like Mohamed Sanu wasn't worth holding on to, and I wanted Robinson. He's got potential to do numbers. For whatever reason, my phone, it says that I have 20 points right now, and my opponent has 7, but it says none of our players are in play, so I don't know who's doing what. My app is acting weird, but I picked up a player. I felt like Sanu, I didn't need to hang on to him. And this Robinson guy is seeming to get a lot of play over in Kansas City, so we'll see what happens. Damn, I should have had Valdez-Scantling, whatever the fuck. Wait, maybe they put some numbers. On there. Oh, yeah, so Tom Brady's got 3 points. Mixon's got 1.6. Edelman's got 1.3. Buffalo defense has got 10. And Elliott's got 4. Nobody's done anything on my bench so far, and I love that. I hate when anybody on my bench performs well. Like, if you're not starting, just don't play. That's how I feel. But hopefully I win. I'm projected to lose, but hopefully I win. You never know. I think I'm smarter than your projections. Yeah, I think that's all we need to talk about today. Sitting here watching Dragon Ball Super, the Tournament of Power. Can't wait for a new season to start back. If you guys want to follow your boy, follow me on Twitter at Babylon5Pod and my personal account at My Name's Jermaine. You guys can email your boy questions, inquiries, bookings if you want at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com. You can follow, like, and subscribe to the podcast on Babylon5.podbean.com. You can listen to the podcast on Stitcher, Spotify podcasts, and hopefully one day iTunes, but who knows? Yeah, I think that's all I got to talk about this week. You guys have been great so far. If you like the podcast and you know people who like podcasts, feel free to share it with your friends. Let's make this into something cool. Pretty soon I'm gonna make some t-shirts here. Thinking some hoodies. Gonna put that up on the site for you guys. And yeah. Thank you guys for supporting the podcast so far. And we're gonna keep it going. All right? Peace. Yeah, peace.